It's been a while since I've updated you, but to be honest with you, there hasn't been a whole lot to report because it's all sanding and painting and sanding and painting and filling and sanding and painting. And you know the drill, right? So I thought I'd at least let you see what I've done up to this point. Today, I just painted the pedestal, which I'm very pleased with how she looks. I'm still going to paint this area here that's kind of nicked up, but as you can see, I've got the wheel brake, the throttle, and the gear shift area to mask up before I do that painting. I would really like to spray that, but unfortunately the wind, as you can see in my bird deterrent there, the wind is constantly blowing here except for maybe 2 a.m. and so spray painting is just out of the question at this point with so many other things having been painted. So I'm going to have to try and brush it as best I can, and we'll see what happens with that. But as you can see, it looks pretty good. I've polished up the wheel. I finished the starboard side cockpit, and a couple of areas that I need to touch up. The lazarette area is painted and finished, and this one that I painted just after I bought the boat needs to be repainted, and that will happen soon as well. But let me show you what I'm up to today. It ain't a whole lot of fun, but it is a whole lot of heat, and it's very much necessary. I've been working the past few weeks on beautifying the boat, and I realized that we're already here almost in August, and if I'm going to get this boat resealed before the rains of winter come, I'm going to need to get at it. So what I did today is, as you can see, the anchor laying there and some tools and blah blah blah. So what I did today is I took the nuts and bolts off the 4 feet that hold the forward pulpit in place. You can see it's laying there kind of crooked like I had a wreck. But you can see what the area looks like before I do anything to it, and you can see that it likely leaked a hell of a lot. I'll eventually pull the cleats off, the forward cleats off, and seal underneath those too, but I want to do some painting at the same time. Over here you can see that I finished this bedding here, or this foot, and polish this up a little bit. And what I want to show you also is, and I just have to show off my cockpit lock, or my anchor locker cover. Doesn't that look nice? Eventually the whole deck would look like that. But one of the things I did today also is I drilled a hole in my boat, which is never a good thing, but one of those things that's necessary. But this is an access hole that I drilled out, and I've got a 4-inch diameter cover to cover this hole once I'm finished working. But by drilling that hole out, I'm able to access the underneath side of the attach bolts or screws to the cleat on both sides. I haven't drilled out the other side yet, but anyway, so I'll be pulling that off. And also, if you go down into the V-berth area inside the boat and look up at the underneath side of the screws that you see along the tow rail here, you'll see that those need to be, some of those need to be pulled out, apply some 5200 sealant, and put back together. So anyway, that's what I'm involved in now. The hole that you see in the front, or the access, whatever you want to call it, that was already like that, and I think they did that at the factory so that somebody could access the wiring that goes to the position lights, and anything else up there, such as the furler support and the anchor roller and that kind of thing. But anyway, that's what I'm up to today. And it's kind of warm out here, but at least there's a nice ocean breeze. So I'm going to be working on this for some time, and after I'm finished, I'm going to paint everything from the aft end of the anchor locker all the way forward, so that that whole section, the entire bow area, will be 100% totally finished and nothing else need to be done to it, as far as I know. Now, I still have some polishing I need to do to the furler support there, but that's not a big deal at all. So what I'm using, by the way, to clean up the foot area of these things is 150 grit sandpaper and my drill motor with a very sturdy wire wheel. And then on the things I want to be a little more tender with, I'm using this wire wheel, which is a little kinder and gentler. So I think that's an update for now, and we'll get back with you when there's more to report. Working up in the on the bow again. As you know from previously, I am up here trying to, well, actually on the entire boat, I'm trying to seal it up so that I don't have any leaks when the rainy season comes along, in probably starting around October, the end of October. But anyway, so today what I'm doing is I'm rebedding the cleats on both sides. I've already taken the screws out of this one, and as I think I said previously, I needed to cut a 4-inch hole in the side of the anchor locker in order to access the nuts underneath. And you'll recall that I've already rebedded the 4 feet that hold the forward pulpit on. But I really suspect that these were leaking, and if you look underneath, I think you would probably agree with me that it looks like there's very good reason for that to leak. First of all, I don't see much in the way of sealant, even 1978 vintage sealant. And the bottom here is pretty corroded, just again 1978 vintage crap that has built up underneath it. And of course we have one on the opposite side, which I just removed, and it is much the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a wire brush on my drill motor and sand all of this off. Then I'm going to sand and prep the entire bow area all the way back to the back of the anchor locker, and I'm going to prime and paint that so that the entire bow, after that's done, will be 100% done. I will confess that the only thing that I will not have rebedded is the mount that's on the very nose of the boat, and that is what holds the furler, the head sail furler, in place. And the anchor roller that the chain is going over there, that will not be rebedded because it's simply too hard to get to. And in the case of the support for the furler, if I were to take that off, there would be a major catastrophe. and the entire head sail mechanism would, who knows what happened, but not good, I can tell you that. The other thing I'm going to rebed is are the position lights, port and starboard position lights. This one looks particularly bad. I'm going to have to dig that out and seal it. And this one doesn't look so bad, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if it was leaking. One, I guess, good thing about the area of the bow that is forward of the back of the anchor locker here, one good thing is that any water that should get in will drain down the inside of the hull into the bilge, and with the bilge pump installed now, that will simply be pumped out the transom of the boat. So I'm not too worried about that, but I do think that these cleats are far enough back that they could get into the V-berth, which I'm sitting on top of here, and cause a leak. And if you're at all curious about what I'm wearing here, and if it looks like pajama pants, that's exactly what it is. It's a choice of wearing a ton of sunscreen or wearing something to cover my legs, and I'm not going to put on a pair of jeans or anything like that, so this is the best thing I got. I'll wear these as long as I can stand it. But as I have mentioned, I'm sure before, the sun is brutal out here in the summertime, and it will really eat you up day after day if you're out here exposed to it. I also wanted to show you the hardware that came out of these cleats, and I think this is all the evidence I need to see to tell me that this was leaking. Quite a bit of corrosion. Granted, the washers, like everything else in this boat, were painted this poo-poo brown color, but even so, you can see corrosion on the other side. So I'll be replacing all the nuts. I'll be cleaning up the washers, and I'll be using the same screws that were holding the cleats in place before. One interesting note on the screws is I've noticed as I've worked on this boat over the past year plus that they took some shortcuts, to say the least. And one of them is evidenced here by the fact that the the screw was too long for their purpose, and so they simply took a die cutter or Dremel tool, or probably not a Dremel tool, but something, and cut the end of it off to the length they wanted, and that's that. So threading new nuts onto those screws could be fun, a challenge to say the least. So here we are in the final throes of this bow project and rebedding. I've now rebedded the cleats and reattached them with my favorite sealant 3M 5200. And this is not a paid promotion. However, if they were to send me a couple of bucks, I would not complain. So both cleats are rebedded, and we're tied back up in the normal way that we are. I've rebedded the position lights here, and as I said before, the feet for the pulpit is rebedded. And for those of you that saw my video where the hole, I drilled a 4-inch hole in the side of the anchor locker and thought, is this guy gonna leave this hole in his boat because it's gonna get water in it and blah blah blah. Well, to answer your question, I am not going to leave that hole in there. I'm going to do what I did on the other side, which you can see is all nicely sealed and waterproofed with, again, the 5200 sealant behind it. So what these are, this was an end cap for a PVC cap. It's a 4-inch, and actually the hole is 3 inches, and these are 4 inches in diameter. But when these things are new, before I mess with them, they're about 3 inches high, have a rim about 3 inches high. And what I did is I took a hacksaw, and as carefully as I could, I cut the lip off, so to speak, until it was flush, and then sanded it down smooth, and drilled the 5 holes that you see here. And so I'll put 5200 around the outside of this, and then screw it into place and vacuum out my anchor locker, and voila, it will be finished. So that's that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is a quick video from Lima Charlie on the eve of Tropical Storm Hillary. And when we first got down here to the marina, it's about 7:30 at night, and it was a beautiful sunset, and the water, when we walked up about 10 minutes ago or less, it was very calm. In fact, the calmest that it's maybe ever been down here since I've been coming. And now you can feel the wind starting to come up. So I think this is the beginning. The worst of it is supposed to be in the middle of the night tonight, and then tomorrow. But this is it from here, and we'll come down on Monday and see what we find. As you can see, I've got double dock lines on the cleats, on all 4 cleats, and the bimini top is off and at home being refurbished. And that's it from Marina Village Marina, and we'll see what happens on Monday. I thought I'd show you guys this morning what my current project is. I'm going to show you what I just have about finished in just a minute. But this is the back of the portside settee, and we had decided that we were going to redo the face of this, which held everything back in this shelf. So I had some things stored back here, and so we were going to put a covering on here that would kind of dress this up and not have everything back here show. But in the process of doing that, I discovered that this area was rotted out. And so this wood that came across here, this shelf, was fiberglass to the hull to give the boat, help give the boat the rigidity that it would have and not flex so much. It was fiberglass to the back here. So as you can see on this piece that is left here, there is, you can see the rotting in the back, and this continues all the way forward to the cockpit, the cockpit boat locker. But I'm only going to cut out the portion from right here and then all the way back at 6 feet 4 inches. So what I'm going to do is replace this piece of wood, this shelf, and then I'm going to also replace the front that holds everything in place when it's stored back there. Eventually I will probably address further aft, but for now I'm just going to do this. So I'm getting some measurements today. I'm going to kind of clean this up a little bit and then cut the new wood today, treat it, and then when I am ready to install it, whereas this was fiberglassed from the bottom to the bottom of this shelf, I'm going to fiberglass. I'm going to sand this up here and fiberglass from the top. So anyway, that's today's project. Ought to be a whole lot of fun. And I'll check in with you in just a little bit, and I'll show you what I've done here in the cockpit. I thought I'd give you an update on this back shelf here. You can see what I've done, the progress I've made. This base here is brand new, and I have fiberglassed over the top of it. Keep in mind that this back where it meets the bulkhead is structural. So you can see the white there, which is a flux mixture, epoxy thickened mixture with fiberglass over the top of it to adhese the back part of this shelf to the hull of the boat. And then in front, you can see that I'm going to call it a wall, a front to the shelf, is in place temporarily. It's not permanently in place yet because I want to paint the shelf itself with Kills tomorrow. And then the two missing slats at the bottom, the brown ones you see going across there, the two at the bottom I've taken off so I could do the work. And those will go back in place tomorrow as well. And then the front will be permanently attached here. And then down here at the end where the work has ended for now, there will be a divider that goes in this slot, and it will extend out here so that, and the main purpose of this project is to be able to put a cable attached to this divider, two cables, one top, one bottom, that will extend all the way down here and attach at the bulkhead here with, again, the cable attached to the top and bottom. And what will happen then is that, and the reason that this front is tapered down from 2 inches going all the way up to 6 inches, the reason that it's tapered is because this entire section back here is not the same distance from top to bottom. So by doing what I've done here, the distance between the top cable and the bottom cable will be the same, 13 inches. And then Kathy is going to form some kind of a cover that will attach to those cables, top and bottom, that the cover will slide back and forth on those cables, hiding all of the crap that I put behind that front on that shelf, so that it looks a little dressed up. And then one last word here, you can see I've removed the laminate top. So real soon now I will be removing this remaining top, as I've mentioned probably numerous times before. I'll be removing this and putting a new laminate down, which will go from here all the way across the drawer cabinet, all the way back here, all the way to the cockpit bulkhead, cockpit locker bulkhead, and on and on and on. So that's an update for now. Okay guys, I brought you up here into my quarter berth to show you something that I just tried that I am very enthusiastic about. Some time ago I was watching another YouTube video and I read about a guy that was using a substance called butyl tape. And many of you, if not all of you, have heard of this or perhaps used it. This is what the package looks like. I got it from West Marine. And this is what the tape looks like in the roll. And this is really kind of miraculous, maybe not miraculous, but certainly an awesome invention and development. I don't know how long it's been around, but if you have a problem any place with leaks, whether it be on a boat, an RV, your house, whatever, I highly recommend you giving this a try. This is what it looks like applied. It's very sticky. It's kind of perhaps in the direction of silly putty, except it's more sticky than that. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm cleaning out the joint. This is where the deck up here is mated to the hull here. And these bolts here that come from the outside through to the inside is what holds the deck to the hull, and it's how this boat was formed. All boats are formed. And anyway, I've had leaking problems here in the quarter berth and other places with water penetrating down through that seal between the hull and the deck, and I have pulled out all of these screws and put a 3M 5200 sealant underneath the head of the screws in hopes of stopping any water from the outside getting to the inside through the screw hole. But some inevitably, as you know, water will find its way some way if there's an opening. And so I am still having a little bit of leaking issues along this area. So I got some of the butyl tape, which by the way has been sitting in my V-berth for months, if not a full year. And I decided, you know, I'll go ahead and give it a try. So I got it out, cut off a piece, and squished it in here. The only problem is it kind of sticks to your finger. And I tried pushing the butyl tape into the opening to seal it up with a piece of wood and a piece of metal, but it sticks to those things more so than it does even my finger. So I'm using my finger to squish this stuff into the crack or into that area. And I'm going to do it all the way down to the end, and then I've got some other areas on the boat that I need a little help with as well. So I thought I would share that with you. Again, you know, this is not a paid infomercial. I'm not getting a dime for it, unfortunately. But I do recommend the butyl tape. Give it a try. I think you'll love working with it, and hopefully the results. I'm going to get a hose when I finish here and spray down this area real good and see if water gets in.